think about some of the things you really enjoyed in your work and start thinking about the things that you know you had an impact on and that you're proud of. Write those things down. When you're feeling especially low, refer back to those things. Go back and say, oh, yes, I am awesome. I did this. That was really cool. I did this. I really do have value to add. Those things are going to have a huge impact in helping you to carry on and to remember your value even when it's really tough. Welcome to the next. Now, you know my intent is to bring you hope with what gets shared here. So I need to set the stage for this episode because it is different. We're dealing with some recent, shocking public tragedies and the reality of how this relates to what we're seeing in the job market and the difficulties that a lot of people are dealing with. There is absolutely hope, but there are some grim truths to break down to get there. So I want to be upfront about that. So we're going to talk about two recent tragic events. We're going to talk about how that relates to the job market right now and end with the truth of what has to happen next. But some of these things are very shocking and disturbing, and I want to have that preface out here now. So the first thing that I'm going to bring up is the murder of Iryna Zarutska. She was a 23-year-old Ukrainian refugee who fled the war. She lived in Kiev before Ukraine, and then she was working on building a new life in Charlotte, North Carolina. So she was working at a pizzeria. She was learning English at a community college and just living her life after escaping the war. Well, you might have heard on August 22nd, she got on a train. She was just heading, I believe she was heading home from work, and sat in front of this gentleman who, there's some footage out there. I have not watched the full unedited footage of this because I've heard too many people say that they wish they hadn't. But this guy kind of nonchalantly gets up, stabs her 3 times, and then just walks off. So she was just sitting there looking at her phone. He stabbed her. From what I understand, she didn't die right away. She was bleeding out. And what was maybe even more shocking than what the killer did after that, because he just kind of casually walked through the train. There's photos out there. There's drops of her blood everywhere following him as he walks out. There were people sitting all around her, and from what I've heard, they didn't do anything to help her. They just sat there while she bled out and died. I don't know if maybe with some pressure applied, if she would have been able to survive or what, but just silence from folks who were right there next to her as this happened. There's all kinds of different reasons that people are outraged about this, and it's coming down to different things. People are saying it's, transit security failures, or that the problems with assessing mental health properly, especially in criminals, and there's some validity to that. It's also, when it comes to the killer, some people are trying to make it about race because of the race of the attacker. There it is again. Oh, it's those people doing these things. And this is where this has, again, the impact here is that a lot of what's being done is being done to try and reduce folks to some kind of archetype, some kind of abstraction, not a human being. So for Iryna, it's, I've seen stuff online. I wish I hadn't. She was in the wrong place at the wrong time. She should have paid attention. Everybody a local would have known, things like that. And of course, about the killer. Oh, well, this guy, it's because it's this race. Again, what this is doing is not recognizing the horror of what's occurred here. Like, a human being is gone. Maybe there's a way to help reduce the instance of folks who have mental health issues and have these kind of tendencies, but it's got nothing to do with the color of their skin. So this is just it. I said this is heavy stuff. the fact is, when we turn this stuff into this abstraction, whatever, this person in the wrong place at the wrong time, not my problem. Oh, it's one of those people. We completely lose the humanity of those individuals and what they really need. The second tragedy is much more recent. It's September 11th today. Yesterday, September 10th, Charlie Kirk, he was a 31-year-old political activist. He was a founder of an organization called Turning Point USA. He was speaking at a Utah Valley University speech. He was doing, as far as I understand, he had this tour that he was doing. There were about 3,000 people there, and somebody shot him. And again, I have not watched the video. I don't want to, but he was shot in the neck, and sounds like there was a lot of arterial spray, and he died afterwards. And I will tell you, I haven't known much about Charlie Kirk until now. There's a lot of videos and pictures and quotes of his all over the place. If you watch some of his stuff, you can tell why he was not a universally loved dude. He was very convicted about what he believed. He was outspoken, and those things can be good. I don't know that everything that he said was necessarily fruitful for the things that we're talking about treating people as individuals and not abstractions. Again, I don't know enough to comment, so I'm not going to say any more. But people not liking him, I get why they wouldn't like him. You're going to have that. So the problem is being joyful that he's gone. So there have been quite a few things that have come out afterwards that folks who didn't like him, and again, I can totally understand why somebody who views things a certain way wouldn't like him. I can see reasons why almost anybody could find to have issue with him just based on what I've seen. I can see why anybody would maybe have issue with things that I have to say sometimes too. The guy was just much more outspoken. He was firmly planted in what he believed for good or bad, and that was definitely at odds with what other people believe. So it makes sense why somebody would say, golly, that guy was a jerk. I'm having a hard time feeling bad, but I realize that I should. His life was still valuable. He was murdered over his views, and that means that it's not okay. We're not in a safe place to disagree and to talk about it and to state those views, which is, we believe in the USA, is a fundamental human right. It's not okay. If I disagree with you enough, then I'm okay with you getting taken out. And worse, there's all kinds of stuff out there about how people were celebrating. They were literally cheering, and they were thrilled, and they were smiling that Charlie was killed, that he is no more. Now, here we have it again. When we start to view people who we disagree with, no matter how crusty they might be, right? I'm trying to think of a character from a movie. There's got to be one out there. But the answer is not to not have people we disagree with exist anymore. The answer is not to celebrate because the world is more like I like it to look. And what we've turned this into is when we make people we disagree with, well, idiots or obstacles or, people who deserve whatever they get. And it becomes a lot easier for us to not recognize their humanity and even to be happy that they're gone. That's a dangerous place. So these things are awful. They're rooted in a systemic problem, and that is what connects this to job searchers. In both of these tragedies, these human beings were reduced to some kind of abstraction. This was, she was somebody who should have been watching out, or, for the people who were right next door, hey, that's not my problem. Oh shoot, the killer is bad because they're a member of X race. This guy is a political enemy or some jerk, right? He had it coming. Whatever. I guess maybe he shouldn't have been so outspoken. This stuff is out there. We're in both of those cases, these abstractions are being made by a ton of folks instead of seeing these as individuals, people just like us who have inherent worth and value. In the job market, the way that this comes out is really similar. So job seekers are reduced to resumes, keywords, check boxes, how completely they can fill out a web form, things like this. And then they're forced into a cold, calculating system that they can only understand so well and that they only have so much influence over, which is almost nothing. And then they're forced to wait and hope that this system will work for them and they will get a chance to find some real humanity and talking with somebody and being recognized for what they are great at. And then after all of this, employers, I'm not saying every employer, but it does happen, they skim profiles and look at these applicants like commodities. They consider their own time, right? Okay, well, this one, all right, I'm going to skim this thing quick. Not enough experience. Oh, this is not going to be a good culture fit. Okay, well, it's obviously an applicant who's, applying for every job that they can. I've even seen some stuff out there, they showed up too early for the interview. Like, you have got to be joking me. So I don't think that they'll manage their time well. Based on something they said, I think I dodged a bullet with this one. Golly, that's actually getting somewhat individual. But you get the idea. Odds are, if you're listening to this, you're living it right now. So employers are skimming over these things after job seekers are working so hard to get their attention and show that they really are valuable. And here we are. The cost is different. We're not talking, in most cases, we're not talking about the death of job applicants, but what occurs is a gradual, repeated erosion of dignity and worth and hope, of belonging, of feeling like we can contribute something. That's huge as job seekers. So, well, it's not the same outcome every time. It is the exact same concept. The mindset is when we stop seeing people, individuals, as valuable and worthy of at least some time, worthy of recognizing as an individual, harm multiplies. Things just get worse. We just perpetuate that idea that people are just abstractions. They are just commodities to be used. They are just somebody else's problem. They are just a member of some group that doesn't fit. They are just people who they're just opponents who need to be vanquished. So I said that there was a lot of tough stuff to get through and that there was hope, and there is. So these are my calls to action. This is the hope in all of this. For all of us, we have got to get serious about considering how we would feel if one of these folks who died or one of these folks who was involved was murdered. What would happen if we lost them? How would we feel? What would that really do? It's hard to get into that headspace, and it isn't fun. It is painful to do, but we've got to consider, what would that be like? How would I feel? Once we've got that, and as much as it hurts, it's one of the most valuable things we can do, because then we need to apply that feeling every time we hear about something happening to somebody, every time somebody gets murdered, whatever that looks like, every time somebody is victim of some kind of violence. Let's engage people who have different views than we do with a sincere desire to understand them. This is it. Ask questions and ask questions and ask questions. The only way we're going to improve any of this is to have legitimate discourse that leads to common understanding. Now, I'm not saying that we've got to have a common belief, that we've got to have, that we've got to compromise our values and sing kumbaya and believe the same things. We don't. but we do have to try to understand each other. We've got to make a space where it's okay to disagree and where we can talk as calmly and rationally as we can. And if we can't talk calmly and rationally, to take a deep breath, to let ourselves be calm, and then to get curious again. That is what it's going to take. So I cannot encourage you any more strongly. This has got to happen. We have got to see other people as beings created by God for a specific purpose, not necessarily saying that they're accomplishing it right now, but they were created for it. And as long as they're here, they have an opportunity to make that happen. And that life being cut short is something that we should abhor. And that trying to understand them and trying to come to a point where at least we see them as that unique creation that they are, whether or not we agree with them, whether or not we like them, we still see their value as a human being. The second one is specifically for job seekers. Remember, and this is going to be trite and easy for me to say, you are not a commodity. You are more than your resume. Again, this is going to sound trite, I know it, but I'm telling you, you cannot let rejection or silence define your worth. It is hard right now. It is going to be hard as long as this goes on. It might go on for longer than you think that it's going to, or you expect it to. That sucks. I wish I could tell you it was going to be different. It may not. I can't make that promise. But here's what you can do right now. No matter where you are, and no matter what these are, start keeping track of your wins. Sometimes the win is just, hey, I applied for these jobs today. I really encourage you to go out, get in a good headspace. I know it's hard to do when you've got all of this stress. Go outside, take a walk. Think about some of the things you really enjoyed in your work and start thinking about the things that you know you had an impact on and that you're proud of. Write those things down. When you're feeling especially low, refer back to those things. Go back and say, oh, yes, I am awesome. I did this. That was really cool. I did this. I really do have value to add. Those things are going to have a huge impact in helping you to carry on and to remember your value even when it's really tough. The other piece I'm going to say is take the time to encourage other people that you know are struggling. There's an awesome community. I'm on LinkedIn most often is where I'm seeing this. There are folks who are struggling with the same things you are. Encourage them. Shoot, if you don't have encouragement to share, let them know that you're there with them. Sometimes that's enough. And lifting them up is going to lift you up too. That is just the way we're wired. We were created for connection. That connection sometimes is enough for them to help them keep going, and it's going to give you a lift too. The last big thing I'm going to say is when you are struggling, find somebody to talk to. You know that there are people who care about you. Sometimes you find people who care about you a lot, even on LinkedIn. It's really remarkable. But you've got people who care about you. They just don't always know how to be there for you. They want to be there for you. If you're really struggling with something, they want to be able to sit in it with you. They just don't necessarily know how. Sometimes they don't even know that it's happening. Reach out to them. There are people who care about you and they want good for you. Cling on to those people. Number 3 is for employers and recruiters, leaders. Just ask yourself, are you treating applicants as human beings or treating them more as a disposable commodity? And the practical application of this is probably to say, golly, am I avoiding the hard things like really reviewing resumes or giving genuine feedback after an interview, especially if an applicant asked me for it, when I wasn't selected, or even sending any kind of update, so even if the answer is no, hey, we're not pursuing your candidacy anymore. Are you avoiding doing those things because it's hard for you? Just because it's more work for you? Here's going to be my encouragement. I know it's a lot, but consider the person behind the paper. Give the feedback, even if it's light, give them one thing they can take action on. Send an update. If you know you're not pursuing them, don't leave them hanging on. Let them know. And when you're looking over somebody's qualifications, take an extra second. see what else they might have to offer. Just make sure that you've given them a fair shake. Now, I know that is a big ask. There are recruiters who have hundreds of resumes to look over for a single role, and they get them within the space of hours. So there's a big ask. If you're doing everything that you can do, that's the best thing that you can do. This is not entirely, this is not a problem of your making or entirely of your making. Just do your best. My closing encouragement for everybody is we are absolutely capable of changing a system. And this is at least in the US, becoming a universally accepted way of looking at things. And the same goes for the job market, that is just designed to systematically strip away our humanity by putting us into boxes, by making us abstractions of people. We're absolutely capable of changing it. But the way we do it is by each of us, you, me, every single other person who is in a position to talk to other people, which is everybody, recognizing the folks around us and folks who are different than us as valuable individuals, one person at a time. It's going to take a lot, but there are a lot of us. We can do it. So, in closing, if tragedies like this teach us anything, it's that the world can't afford us to forget one another's humanity. Not on the subway, not on the stage, not in the workplace. Be good to each other. I'm thrilled that you're here. I wish that this had been a lighter subject today, but I am sharing it with the hope that you'll join me in working to make this better and really considering people as individuals, as putting aside differences and seeking to understand, and especially in recognizing the loss of a human life as the genuine loss to us that it is. God bless. Thank you so much for being here, and we'll see you on the next episode.